The yield sign is one of the least dramatic objects on the road and one of the most behaviorally sophisticated. It does not flash, it does not beep, it does not enforce compliance through force. And yet, when it works, entire streams of traffic flow smoothly because of it. That outcome required a careful balance between instruction and autonomy. Before yield signs, traffic control leaned heavily on absolutes. Stop signs demanded full halts. Signals dictated movement in rigid cycles. In places without controls, drivers negotiated priority informally, often through assertiveness rather than safety. Each approach had limits. Stop signs were safe but inefficient. They interrupted flow even when no conflict existed. Signals scaled better but required infrastructure, power, maintenance, and timing. Uncontrolled intersections depended on social negotiation, which broke down as traffic density increased. The yield sign emerged to occupy the space between control and freedom. Its purpose was not to stop vehicles, but to assign conditional responsibility. One stream of traffic would maintain priority, the other would adapt. This distinction matters. Yielding is not passive. It requires perception. A driver must observe speed, distance, and trajectory. They must predict movement and decide whether to proceed. The sign does not tell them when to go. It tells them when not to insist. That nuance explains the sign's wording. Yield is not a command like stop. It is a social instruction. It implies cooperation. You may proceed, but not at someone else's expense. The shape reinforces this message. The inverted triangle is unique among road signs. Its point faces downward, visually signaling deference. Unlike circles or octagons, it does not assert dominance. It suggests caution without paralysis. This visual language allows instant recognition, even when the text is unreadable. Color plays a role as well. Red signals importance and potential danger. White provides contrast and clarity. The design avoids excess information. There is nothing to interpret beyond priority. This simplicity is intentional. A yield sign must be understood at speed, under stress, in varied lighting, by drivers of different experience levels. Any ambiguity would undermine its function. Yet the sign also avoids overreach. It does not attempt to micromanage behavior. It leaves space for judgment. This is a crucial trade-off. The yield sign accepts that not all situations are the same. Traffic conditions vary moment to moment. A rigid rule would create unnecessary stops or confusion. Instead, the sign shifts responsibility to the driver at the point of decision. This shift is the yield sign's core design insight. Rather than enforcing compliance through absolute rules, it enforces awareness. It keeps drivers engaged with their surroundings. They cannot disengage mentally as they might at a red light. They must actively assess. This active engagement improves flow and reduces certain types of accidents. However, it also introduces risk. Yield signs assume competence. They assume drivers can judge gaps accurately. They assume drivers will act in good faith. In high-speed or high-volume environments, this assumption breaks down. That is why yield signs are not universal. They appear where speeds are moderate, sightlines are clear, and conflicts are predictable. Where uncertainty is too great, stronger controls are used. This selective placement reveals another design principle. Good systems do not demand perfect behavior everywhere. They match expectations to context. The yield sign does not exist to eliminate error. It exists to reduce unnecessary interruption while preserving safety where judgment is reliable. Over time, drivers internalize this logic. Yielding becomes habitual. A glance, a slowdown, a decision. The sign fades into the background, but its effect remains. When it works well, no one notices. The realization often comes only when it fails, when drivers misjudge, when someone insists rather than yields, when conflict appears where cooperation was expected. In those moments, the sign's quiet authority becomes visible. The yield sign is not weak because it asks rather than commands. It is strong because it aligns with how humans naturally negotiate shared space. It formalizes courtesy without requiring dominance. This is invisible design in its most refined form. The object does not force behavior. It shapes it by clarifying roles and timing. It reduces friction by assigning responsibility precisely where it matters. Once you see this, the yield sign feels less like a traffic marker and more like a lesson in system design. Not every problem requires stopping everything. Sometimes the smartest solution is to slow down just enough to notice one another.